Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is July 13th, 2020. Monday the 13th. Garfield hated those. Like everything this year has been Monday the 13th. Alright, so we have kit announcements from Hasegawa for September. We also have a new kit announcement from Savino's JR. And we have the kit releases for this week, which include domestic kits and import kits. So we have many plastic things to discuss. So let's just go ahead and hop into the Hasegawa stuff here. So there are, as usual, for Hasegawa, several straight reissues and then a couple of modified reissues as well. So your straight reissues would be the Wild Eggplant Girls Kubel Wagon. Now, you may recall they've just reissued the Kubel Wagon not too terribly long ago, this year, probably about, 3 months ago, in its more standard Kubel Wagon fare with a resin military girl, the one we discussed where she's a little too excited to be a German. This Kubel Wagon has a resin figure as well. It is one of, like I said, the Eggplant Girls. So it's an anime resin figure. This is sort of what got Hasegawa's whole resin figure in a plastic model kit thing started. And as far as the Kubel Wagon itself, it's the same basic kit, except this one is based on the North Africa Kubel Wagon, so it's got the high float sand tires in it rather than the more traditional mud and snow tires that the other one had. So if you're looking for that because you wanted the sand tired version, or you wanted the Wild Eggplant Girls resin girl figure and you missed out on the first try, you got another shot at it. Also being reissued, the 1992 Subaru Legacy RS Swedish Rally Kit, the 1992 Subaru Legacy RS Street Civilian Kit, so that's the road car. Also, the Lamborghini Miura Super Veloce, what is known as the Gold 5030 Chassis Restoration Kit. It is molded in gold, or at least it was the first time this kit was released in this format. Lamborghini, 3-4 years ago now, maybe even longer than that, come think of it, is started its own sort of in-house, body off chassis restoration service, and this was the first vehicle that was done was this Miura, and so Hasegawa kitted it because obviously they had a Miura tooling laying around from the early 1990s, and why not release it another way for another version? I believe at this point, at least, I'm trying to think Gravity offered the color, but I don't think that they did. It's only Zero Paints offered the specific gold color this thing was painted in. But there is match for the paint out there. Also, from Hasegawa, these are the modified reissues for the month. So you have a 1980 San Remo Rally Lancia Stratos. This is the Olio Fiat livery that's relatively famous within Lancia Rally. The Stratos was painted this way. There's an 037 that was painted this way. There's a Fiat 131 that was painted that way. It's a dark blue yellow livery. The car itself finished 5th in the rally. No, not 5th in the rally. Did not finish the rally. The engine blew out. I read the wrong part of my note there. But it's got the narrower dirt gravel wheels that we saw come out in a couple of the other kits, the Lancia Stratos Safari reissue, and the, what am I trying to think of? There was the kit that was released that had those wheels back in it. They got the whole thing that was in 79 San Remo Rally Winter kit. That was what got this dirt reissue started. So there is that. And then we're going to get a 1990 Japanese sports car prototype series Omron liveried Porsche 962C. A 1991 Japanese sports car prototype series Nissan R90 VP in Italia livery. So there's, from talking to some of the Japanese folks, there are some problems with this kit in the sense that what they believe that Hasegawa is going to do, because Hasegawa has once again issued the this does not look like the kit contents warning, is they're going to basically reissue their R89 with this 1991 livery, and the R90 VP is a somewhat different car in the sense of it rides the R89 chassis. The R89 turned into the R90. Tamiya did that with their kit. That's that cabin liveried kit that they did back in the day. But the R90 VP is a slightly different version, and it's doesn't sound like they're making any of the actual changes to the model kit. They're just throwing a set of decals into it. Now, depending on what they do with the decals, it may or may not make some of the body changes quite as necessary. One of the biggest most obvious differences between an R89 and the R90 VP is the fact that the engine cover has giant slats cut into it for cooling. Now, if they would include those slats as decals, I think for a lot of people who build these kits, because they're, 50 part, 55 part curbside, very, very basic Group C cars, those slats may be enough to sort of give you the indication of that, those being an open engine hole. Otherwise, you're going to do a lot of modifications to the body. So know that going in. A lot of people were very excited to see that livery in that car, and then were slightly less than excited to see what the actual result was going to be. It's kind of like that Lancia 037 Japanese Grand Touring car thing, where it's like, hey, we're just going to reissue the Riley kit, and you're on your own to make all the necessary changes to convert it into the touring car version that ran one time. And then the last thing is a modified reissue of a brand new tool that technically has not come out yet, and that is going to be a 1989 Japanese Touring Car Championship Toyota Corolla AE 92 11 Advan liveried car. So let's take an actual look at this. This is going to be based on the brand new AE 92 Corolla 11 GT Apex tooling that's supposed to come out later this month in July. That kit is all new. It's the street version of the BMAX kit to a certain extent, but it's not the BMAX kit. It's a whole new Hasegawa tool. And while they're at it, Hasegawa decided, hey, we're going to turn it into a race car. This is kind of interesting in the sense, for me, that it answers a question that nobody asked, right? There's the BMAX kit that's out there. Why do you need another AE92 Japanese touring car Corolla at this point? Because we know, we just talked about last week, Nunu, being BMAX, is going to reissue the car as a 1989 with the 24 Hours of Spa livery attached to it. Now, for what I've seen, the 1989 car has a different fuel filler, which is indicated on this graphic, where it looks like instead of stereo speakers mounted into the trunk, the fuel fillers on the 88 are just like fuel fillers, like just a round fuel filler. They're in the trunk, spaced out at different places, depending on what race it was racing. Obviously, depending on which side the fuel paddock is on, is which side the fuel filler was on. The Spa car seems to have fuel fillers on both sides of the trunk, and I think that means that it's actually an 88 car that was sent to Spa in 1989, as opposed to a 1989 car that was actually actively running in JTTC at the time. So this graphic shows you the grille's different, the wheels are different. Obviously, the wheels have that five-spoke, four-spoke thing going on, where the drive wheels have a five-spoke wheel, and the non-drive wheels, being a front-wheel drive car, they're in the back, obviously, are a lighter weight four-spoke wheel. There's the wiper, the mirrors, the tie-downs for the trunk. Obviously, it's got a gutted-out racing interior and some suspension changes and exhaust changes as well to replicate the race car. So I've ordered one. Guys who watch the other channel, because obviously I've moved all my what I'm buying things to the other channel, know that I bought that livery off of Frankie over SK Decals like 2 months ago to put onto the one spare BMAX kit that I have, because I bought 5 of those when they came out, 4 to do the cars in the box, and then 1 because I knew somebody at some point would eventually offer another set of decals for it. I'm still apparently going to be searching for another company to do some decals for it. I'm going to see what the decals look like in this kit when it comes out in September, and then I'll decide, if I'm going to use Frankie's, which probably end up doing because I've already paid for them, and I'll have a spare sheet. At least I didn't say the bad word. A spare sheet of the Hasegawa decals laying around. But there are enough subtle changes that now I can't build that car out of the 1988 kit because I would know that it's wrong. So, yeah. So that's Hasegawa stuff. Like I said, very interesting. That race car just got announced like out of the woodwork, out of the blue. I saw it and I thought, wait a minute, is that the no? The AE101 is the JTC car that they have out already. I will still, Hasegawa, if you're watching this, still want my Isuzu Gemini JTC car. It ran for like 4 different years. 2 of them rather, moderately successfully. I need my Isuzu Gemini. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at the Bobby Allison race car here from Salvino Jr. This is the newly announced car for August, I believe is what they're saying. And there's another Rainier Racing tie-in, and this is the 1981 Monte Carlo. the Hardy sponsorship on it. So this is the lightly modified Salvinos Monte Carlo. Remember, they came out with this new flat-nosed version of the Monte Carlo, which is just a new nose piece on the squared off Monte Carlo body that Monogram did back in the 80s, because there's two monogram Monte Carlo. There's two Monte Carlo bodies. One has the Aero sedan thing on the, or the Aero, what do they call it? The Aero back thing with the glass that extended across the back deck like the 2+2 Pontiac, and then there was a squared off version like this. And again, just a new nose piece, and then new decals tossed in there as well. So for the fans of Salvinos, you have another version of that car coming out. And then we'll go into kit releases. Like I said, there are several here in the United States this month. We've got to clean up the round 2 July kits, or excuse me, June kits rather, and they are the 1966 Chevy Nova SS 2-in-1. So this is just a straight rebox of the Nova kit. If you've ever had one of these, going back to, I believe, 1986 was when this kit came out, if I remember right. Very significant kit just in the history of model kits, because it is one of the first U.S. kits that came with a platform interior where the door cards, if you will, the side panels for the interior are separate pieces. This was one of the first kits that didn't have a tub of butter as being your interior tray. So, nostalgia, yay! But otherwise, all of these parts, including the sort of street machine-y look of thing, were in that kit. The difference here would be the decals are expanded. It has pre-printed white wall tires in it for the factory stock wheels, and another reissue of it. Not a bad kit, but it's been out a whole bunch. A kit that hasn't seen the light of day in quite a while, because it was last seen, I guess, as the USA 1 truck. Right? Is this the Chevy Silverado monster truck with the Coca-Cola livery? So this is a 1/25th scale kit. A lot of the monster trucks that have been reissued since round 2 took over have been the 1/32nd scale snap tie kits. This is the 1/25th scale glue kit. I believe it does use the body from the Silverado line, but it does not use the chassis or obviously the suspension or anything else like that. There was a debate at one point as to whether or not these monster trucks are why AMT has never been able to reissue, or has not been willing to reissue, the Silverado line of kits, but this does have a completely different chassis plate from the street kits, so that is not the reason. Maybe this, and if this sells well, that'll sort of lead into a street kit, possibly. Right now, there's nothing about any street kits on the distribution list going through what looks like to be about the end of the year at this point, so maybe 2021, or again, I don't know, buy this kit, put your money where your mouth is, and then I know it's a monster truck. It's kind of one-use kind of thing, and people loathe the Coca-Cola thing, even though the Coca-Cola thing is what's paying for other projects at this point. But, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're into it, buy it. Complain to round 2 they aren't making what you want. Yeah, we'll see where that gets you. And then last June kit from round 2 is this, the reissue of the Holloway trailer, the 5-car automotive transport. So, new decals, vintage box art. I had one of these that I thought was the original one until I actually looked at it. I think I've told the story before, and realized that it was a reissue in the 1990s in the vintage box art, back when AMT Ertl tested that on a few things, because I have a vintage box art 63 Galaxy as well. But that being said, this kit has not been out in 19 years, I believe. I think 2001 is when my reissue is from. At any rate, it hasn't been around for a while. Obviously, it's a very period car hauler. It's a 1960s car hauler. It's a single-axle car hauler, which wouldn't fly today in any way, shape, or form, considering how heavy cars are. It probably barely flew back then. It's probably a local transporter where you're not worrying about going over the road with it. Obviously, it's attached to a day cab in this image. So yeah, if you buy the plow, the Ford L9000 plow, or LNT plow, I guess that's technically, that does come with a fifth wheel. So if you wanted to build this with that kit and not use the plow and the dump bed, that's a possibility. And then also we got the first July Revell kit this week, and I'm surprised they pushed it this way. I really would have thought they would have pushed the reissues first and had this come out later in the month, but they are not making you wait. This is the '69 Chevrolet Chevelle SS396, the all-new 69. Well, it's not all new because we know that this kit is based on the 1968 Chevelle tooling, which is all new. It's all new because it was all new in the advertising that they stole this image idea from. So there are new side body core tools, pieces of the tool, I should say. So this does have the marker lights in the right place. It deletes the side trim from the 68 that rides down underneath the character line. It changes the rear three-quarter panel because the 69 Chevelle's bumper fits in a straight up and down rather than a sort of a concave to the body way the 68 does. And this solves once and for all one of the biggest problems that the AMT 68, 69 Chevelle kits have, which is that they are not a 68 or a 69. They're this weird cobbled mess of the two because they were annual kits that were tooled one way, tooled the other way, tooled one way, tooled the other way, and then they sort of wound up stuck in the middle of the thing. So there are a bunch of new parts in this kit, obviously, in the interior and other things. All of these 69 specific parts appear to be included. I have not seen anything about this kit bad in the sense of, oh, well, it doesn't include this 69 part, it doesn't include that 69 part. Obviously, the grills are different, and like I said, the interior parts are different, the mirrors are different. But the biggest thing was that the side core parts of the tool, main body tool, have been changed, or not, well, they've been swapped out. It's designed to be swapped out. They didn't destroy the 68 when they did this. It's designed to be a 68, 69. Again, this is probably not the last thing we'll see out of this tooling. Yenko, Baldwin Motion, something, maybe a convertible, who knows. It all depends on what they tooled into it back before Habico went bankrupt, because this is like a pre-bankruptcy tooling that was going to come out in 2018 if they had not gone under. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what else comes out of this. They've obviously designed it to be very modular in the sense of being, just swap parts around and do a 68 or do a 69. So it'll be interesting to see what else comes of this, but this is officially out there in the wild for you guys to pick up, depending on what vendor you use. If you're doing online only or your local hobby shop, it may be in, it may not be, but it is out and will be available to you relatively shortly. So let's go over to Japan. We've had a bunch of releases this week, all of it being mostly reissues with a bunch of Hasegawa stuff and a bunch of Aoshima stuff, and also a Fujimi kit. We'll touch the Fujimi kit real quick here because we try not to touch Fujimi inappropriately. This is another reissue of the Suzuki Hustler. Oh, God. This is in blackish blue pearl as far as what the body's molded in. This, for once, is not a Hustler G, which is the down market. This is really the more upmarket Suzuki Hustler. I'm trying to figure out where on this spectrum of the box art that bluish black metallic is, and it's not. It must be a newer color that was not included in this original layout of 11 kits, and or 9 kits rather on the front here. 10 if you include the little thing down at the bottom that tells you what color it's molded in. Can't count right now. And this does not include any type of water slide decal whatsoever. So if you were thinking about buying one and you don't want to use the Mylar things that come with it, because this is a snap-tight kit nominally, and it's designed for younger builders returning to the hobby and things like that. So you don't have to paint it, you just snap it together, and then there's Mylar stickers for interior trim and the wheel hubs and things like that. Yeah, there's no water slides in this at all. Some of the earlier Suzuki Hustlers do have water slides. I'm not going to make you go back and watch every single video to figure out which ones those are, but they were some of the first ones that were done. So if you go to a place like Hobby Search, the 1999.jp link that's always at the end of these videos, you can sort of go back and look and see which ones come with water slides, but that one does not. At Hasegawa, we got 3 releases this week. One is a straight reissue. It is this, the Mazda Cosmo Sport with a 1960s resin girl figure. She is in this pose where she is daintily touching the front fender as far as how she's sculpted, so she's going to be a sort of a car show girl no matter what, unless you do some modifications. She is molded in this Burberry style dress with tights thing. Very 1960s Japan, I will agree. Otherwise, kit's the same as it always is, so there's that. And then 2 other releases this week for July that are technically reissues, but one's a new set of decals. One is a long ago, far away release. So the new set of decals is this on the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 3, the 1995 Tour de Course. So this is a new set of decals for this long-standing Evo 3 rally kit, and they represent either the 3rd place finishing car or the 5th place finishing car, as you do have 2 different car numbers in the livery. And then this is the 2005 Mexico Rally winning Subaru WRX. It's kind of interesting to see how this WRX builds up compared to the Tamiya one. There are differences, especially in the kit engineering of it. Be interesting to sit them side by side because one of the bigger, I don't know, complaints, but longer-standing legends of Hasegawa is that their kits tend to scale out closer to 1/25th than 1/24 scale, so sitting the two bodies next to each other should be an interesting juxtaposition. This kit has not been out since 2006, the year it was made, so yeah, 14 years since this kit was available. It does include on the decals a black outline around the door placards because they were apparently taped on with electrical tape, and they did recreate that, which I love Hasegawa doing those little things like that with their decals. And it does include the Corona door placards. I don't know if people in Japan don't realize Corona is a beer. Everyone thinks it's a virus, or somehow, much like Martini and Rossi and Jägermeister, Corona is acceptable as a thing. We're not allowed to smoke. Apparently kids can drink, they just can't smoke. Whatever. Okay, over Aoshima, these are all going to be reissues, so we're just going to plow through these right quick. So, reissue of the Hilux Surf, 1991. This is a better version of the Hilux Surf than other ones that have been available in the past because it does include the earlier 1989, I believe it would be, body style grille and bumpers and things like that. So you can build the earlier version of the Hilux. This does come still with the left-hand drive dashboard and left-hand drive parts, but there are no SR5 4Runner decals or anything like that in it, but you can build it left-hand drive still. Then you have this, which is a reissue of the second-gen Mazda Miata or the Mazda MX-5, depending on how you look at things. I believe this was the last MX-5 was technically a Miata here in the United States. This, as we've talked about in the past, is the only second-gen Miata kit that comes with a left-hand drive dashboard and left-hand drive windshield wipers. It had not been available that way since 1999. This got released last spring, I think, in this configuration. Now, obviously, it does show a right-hand drive dashboard on the box, but the left-hand drive parts are included. You have this, which is the R90 Hilux Custom Lift Up, which is sort of the monster truck, if you will, version of these Hiluxes. One of the things that kind of boggles my mind is that some of these Hilux Customs, if you buy old ones, back when American Satco was the importer back in the 90s, they came with left-hand drive dashboards, and not resin ones, the actual plastic ones that come with the Hilux Surf. Since then, those kit parts are not included. I think American Satco must have been having Aoshima run those specific part runner insert out for them. Because again, since the 1990s, none of these, there's these jacked up ones and the low ones. If you look at the box art for this, that's a US grill, it's a US bumper, it's the US mirrors, it is the US long bed version of the pickup. Apparently there wasn't a long bed version of the Hilux available in Japan directly. This is, an SR5 pickup, but it doesn't come with the left-hand drive parts. I mean, you could buy a Hilux and steal the left-hand drive out of it and put it into this because the dashboard will fit. The interior is more or less the same interior. It's just been shaved off at the back of the cab, where the actual interior that the left-hand drive goes to is for the Hilux Surf. They've literally cut somewhere along the line, they created a tool for the interior where they shaved the interior tool in half. It's not damaged in a way where you have to plug it back together again with the Hilux, but the way this kit comes is the front half of the Hilux Surf or the four-door Hilux's interior cut down the middle, and then you put a back to it. It's an interesting piece of engineering. But anyway, that's back out. And then a reissue of this, which just came out a few weeks ago. It seems like it's probably been about 6 months at this point, but time has run together this year. And it is the Honda Odyssey Absolute, which comes in a 2004 or 2006 body, which are subtly different enough that there are actually two whole bodies in here. You do have to pick one or the other as far as what you're going to do with the interior and the chassis, but you got a paint mule for free, basically, in this, because you can't build both, but you can build one, and you're going to be left with an entire body shell left over. Then you have this reissue of the Ken and Mary Liberty Works Skyline, which is like the second car out of the Skyline series, or the Liberty Walk series, I should say. And then you have a reissue of this, which is the Lamborghini Countach LP400 in the new supercar line, when it was the #1 kit of the new supercar line. And that, of course, means that the Lamborghini Countach Photo Etch has been reissued. Pretty good photo etch set, but unfortunately, unless they've made some changes to it, which it doesn't look like they have since they created this for the 74 kit. It does not fit the 5000 quattrovolts. It's not really a universal set. It is only for the 74. And then last but not least for this video, reissue of the Pagani Warrior, the original one, not the Tempesto Virtue one, or the tempestuous wind version that they did last year. So guys, that wraps up this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had a great weekend. If you happen to be living in Florida, holy crap, stay inside. Don't become a statistic. I will say this. No matter how you feel about what's going on, whether you think it's a hoax, or you think it's real, or you think it's political, or you think Bill Gates is trying to install a microchip in you for the mark of the beast, and this is a sign of the apocalypse, if we could all, as a country, row the boat in the same direction for like a month and a half, a lot of people say, well, I was locked down. Yeah, and a lot of the country was not. And the parts of the country that were not are now getting their ass beat by this. So if we, as a country, could just for 1 minute remember what it was like the September 12th of 2001, when we were all very, very angry at one thing. And we all sort of unified for like 10 minutes about feeling American and proud of our country and unified in our outrage. Should be that outraged about coronavirus, because oh my god, NNL South, Acme Nationals, or Acme Southern Nats canceled. NNL East Diversified Scalers NNL Philadelphia show canceled. Y City Scale Models was a local show to me here in Zanesville, canceled. The IPMS Region 2 regionals, which are held down in Virginia, canceled. The September Showdown in Boyerstown, which is out by Philadelphia, canceled. The Rose Bowl, which is on the 1st of January of next year, canceled. Do you guys want to ever go anywhere and do anything ever again? Because if you don't, keep acting the way you're acting, keep wandering around like fools, licking each other's buttholes, or whatever the hell you people are doing down there in the southern states to make this spread the way it is, and put on a damn mask, keep 6 feet away from other people, because a lot of you people were never sheltered in place in the first place, so stop acting like this is some horrible thing that's befallen you that you have to wear a mask. It's not a political thing. Wear a mask, keep distance, stay in the house unless you absolutely, or stay away from other people, unless you absolutely have to, and let's all for once just act like grown-ass people that we claim to be and knock this down so that my kids can go to school this fall. A lot of you folks watching this are grandparents. Do you want to homeschool your kids? Because that's what's about to happen for a lot of you folks, right? Because, hey, if there's no school and both your kids, are working, like my wife and I both work, who's going to stay home with our kids? Which one of us gets to quit our job? And how are we supposed to deal with that half of the income that we have solution? Do I have to sell everything? I can't say that I'm going to cancel my YouTube channel because that doesn't cost anything. And I can't say I'm going to cancel my internet to save money because I need that to homeschool my kids. Like, no ability to work together with any sort of unity about anything is probably the most frustrating thing about being alive in 2020 right now. It's all of this stuff. Scale Auto Magazine, dead, but that has nothing to do with the coronavirus. I see so many people posting things about how frustrated they are and they just want to give up and not go, just stay in bed. I feel you. Okay, it's very frustrating. But as somebody who I and my wife have been working through all of this, we never got any time off. I've had 2 days off this year, the 4th of July and Memorial Day, and otherwise it's Groundhog Day, doing the same goddamn thing every day. We would really appreciate all of the essential workers in the world who didn't ever get any time off would really appreciate it if everyone could just man or woman up, stop acting like idiots, and get through this. So that maybe we can get the mail back. Maybe we can send our kids to school. Maybe there'll be some sports. The sports thing is really the most relevant of it all. But, I mean, some people act like it's the end-all, be-all. We're not going to... All of these fall shows being canceled is very frustrating. But as it stands right now, as somebody who's married to a nurse and whose best friend works in an ER, I'm going to tell you right now, I have serious doubts that unless they can develop a vaccine that is completely and totally functional, I'm not worried about the safety of vaccines. We've been vaccinating people since the 1940s. But if we can get vaccines out, it's not going to be a question of whether or not they can make a vaccine or not, necessarily. It's when can you be vaccinated? Because the first people to be vaccinated are going to be people who work in hospitals, people who work around the elderly in healthcare scenarios like home health aides, and people who work at nursing homes. And then it's going to be emergency services people, cops, firefighters, EMS. And then it's probably going to be like frontline restaurant workers, frontline retail workers, and then transportation industry people. For you folks who are just like random people who have like a 9-to-5 job working at like Deutsche Bank or something like that, it's going to be a while before you get a vaccine. They're talking about here in the United States making 300 million doses, but they can't give all 300 million of those doses the second day of January. It's going to take months and months of 2021, assuming it was ready at Christmas time as a huge, awesome Christmas present. We are in very close proximity to losing all of our spring model contests at this point. Do you not want to do anything next year? Because this is how you don't do anything next year. 2021 is going to be canceled as well. It's going to be next fall before we can actually do anything. We're banned from traveling to the EU. The Canadian border is still closed. All because we can't stop acting like fools. Knock it off. See you guys on the other side.